Rental rates in Metro Manila have just become so much cheaper for a few reasons. We'll be speaking to a top real estate broker when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. Despite condo unit sales picking up in the second quarter, rental rates across Metro Manila are still on the decline. This is the steepest in the area where most POGO hubs were located before. According to a report by Lichu Property Consultants, rental value in Pasay's Bay Area dropped by 6% to 856 pesos per square meter. In comparison, condo rates in Makati slid by 4%, BGC by 2%, and Ortigas also by 2%. Alabang's value ticked up by 1%. Today's rental rates in the Bay Area are a far cry from POGO's heyday of 1,707 pesos per square meter in the first quarter of 2020. LPC reported condo unit sales in Metro Manila this quarter advanced by 2% to 6,643 from 6,508. Office space is slowly being filled up as well. The market has picked up 740,000 square meters in the first half, already hitting 67% of 2024's 1.1 million. That's a lot of numbers. To dissect developments in the country's property market, we turn to the CEO and co-founder of Lichu Property Consultants, David Lichu. Hi, David. Welcome to The Big Story. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me in your show, ma'am.
Yeah. So actually, there's bad news and good news. If I'm right,
Yeah.
office space is actually reaching pre-2017 figures. If
Yes.
my facts are straight, but rental rates still on the decline. Can you give us a better picture of what's going on out there?
Yes, ma'am. So first, maybe before we go into too much detail, I just want to frame this properly that the Philippines is still doing very, very well. It's one of the most graceful office and residential markets in the world because most property markets in the world are being shredded right now by a
Graceful?
number
Did you
of
say graceful?
graceful, yes. The property market in the Philippines is performing gracefully,
Okay.
and I'll explain why. So because demand for office is quite healthy, the demand for high-end residential is quite healthy. The demand for the low-end residential is quite healthy. Malls are back at pre-pandemic levels. Hotel occupancy could be better, but it could be a whole lot worse. And the problem in the property market in the Philippines is isolated to just Metro Manila condo market in the mid-end, only in the mid-end. And by mid-end, I'm talking about units from 3 to 20 million pesos, 3 million to 20 million pesos. And it's like that. There's a problem in the mid-end because of the oversupply. And the oversupply happened because COVID delayed a lot of projects, and so a lot of these buildings were completed at the same time that produced the oversupply. And then post-COVID, we went through a global inflation phase where inflation went out of control. And as a response to that, central banks around the world increased and hiked interest rates. So all these things kind of choked the middle class all around the world. The Philippines is not an exception. And despite that, property prices are holding across most segments. The high end is growing between 3 to 5% a year, considering that most markets in the world are declining rapidly. Demand overall is quite healthy. The capital values in the middle end condos have come down by 20-25% because of this oversupply and because of the desire for developers to offload the stock and move it. And then in the office sector, the demand has been the strongest we've seen in 6 years. and that is extremely encouraging. And this is normal demand, meaning the drivers are still BPOs and traditional businesses, no POGOs. There has been some PIGO activity, but not much. And because of that, rents are starting to bottom out, and in places like BGC, Bonifacio, rents are starting to climb. And it's just a matter of time before the market absorbs all the supply. I guess that will be about 3 years.
Would you say it's
And
a
this,
buyer's market then, David?
it definitely is a buyer's market. So this is what I can't, this is what I'm trying to harp to the public, which is when prices were going up, everyone's complaining that it was unaffordable and expensive, etc. Now that prices have come down 30%, purchase prices, sale prices, and rents have come down by as much as 50% in most markets. What the hell are we waiting for? This is once in a 10-year moment where you can lock in rents for 5-10 years at very low rates.
Baka kasi daw bumaba pa.
Yeah.
Well, yes, there's
Yeah.
that mindset. So we think that there's 3 years more of this downward trend.
You
But
see?
it's not. But it's not everywhere. For example, Makati has stopped falling. BGC has stopped falling in the condo space. So there is softening, and it's finding a floor now. So you might want to take a position as early as now for Makati and condo and BGC condos. But the Bay, Ortigas area, Alabang, Pasig area, condo mid-end, again, I have to stress this, condo mid-end, I think there's going to be further softening.
To what would you attribute the healthy, as you said, we've never seen this number in 6 years, the office lease take-up? That should be a good sign for the economy as well, right?
Yeah, because the Philippines is blessed to be a counter-cyclical market. When the world goes into problems, the world produces more jobs in the Philippines. The other market that's like this is India, because both India and the Philippines are the core markets for outsourcing. So every time a CEO in the US or Europe looks at the next 3 to 5 years and they're not seeing any top line growth, they're not seeing any profit growth, the only way that they can show margins is by cutting costs. And part of that cost cutting measures is moving jobs to Philippines and India and moving operations to India. And this is despite AI. I know everyone is talking about AI and how that's going to ravage jobs. It is ravaging some jobs, not all jobs. And the rate of jobs created because of offshoring to Philippines and India is greater than the jobs being ravaged by AI. Second is that work from home has not ravaged this market the way it has ravaged most markets in the world. I mean, you look at Chicago, San Francisco, New York, Berlin, London, you've got prime buildings for sale at 50, 60, 80% discount from 2019 prices, and nobody's buying. Okay? Here in the Philippines, I have landlords, clients who own buildings that have been 50% vacant, 40% vacant for 5 years, and they still turn down tenants. What does that tell you? It tells you that they're not distressed. They're not distressed because their core business is doing well. They have been very frugal. They have very balanced fiscal situations, and that's why they're not distressed to sell or to bend to the market forces. And that's a very healthy sign. Yes, we did have. Yes.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned inflation and the Bangko Sentral. With inflation down now, how is this looking, no, for at least yung mga lease offers or long-term lease financing offers for mid-end condos here in Metro Manila? Just to
Yeah,
get
so-
people to buy.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Interest rates are going to keep coming down as far as the central bank can sustain, because we cannot fight the U.S. Fed, right? For as long as the Fed rates are high, the rest of the world have to kind of approximate their interest rates. So this is the few times that the Philippines can afford to fight the Fed, and so we're bringing interest rates down faster than the U.S. is bringing it down. Why? Because the West has got an inflation problem. The Philippines and the developing world do not. So if our inflation rates are sub 2%, the inflation rate in the US is higher than 2%. So it's a weird situation to be in. It's never happened before. Next, interest rates in the Philippines are at 6 or 7% if you want to take a real estate mortgage. 6 to 7% fixed for 2-3 years. Yeah. In the US, it is 6% also. So the borrowing cost, real estate borrowing cost in the US, 6%, Philippines 6%, never happened before.
Yeah.
There used to be a very big spread.
Right.
I mean, it is so the world is in a very weird space, a place in many sense, in a number of ways. But
Can the BSP still afford to cut rates?
I think they've been very prudent. They've been very independent. They've not been populist, and so they will do the right thing. They're the best people to say whether they can fight the Fed or not, whether they can sustain low interest rates or not. Thankfully, the situation in the Middle East has not been escalating, and that has controlled inflation throughout the world. That's a very, very good thing. You know, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, lastly, David, you did say it is an ideal time to enter the market. So what advice would you give potential home buyers in finding the right property for them? Because there is an oversupply.
Yes. So borrow money when you are more or less comfortable with your recurring income. If you cannot borrow money because you're not sure about your recurring income, whether that's your salary or your bonuses or your stock options or your dividends, then I suggest you take this time and lock in a 10-year lease somewhere, okay? Because prices are so cheap and it's not always going to be like this. Yes, it's going to keep falling for a few more quarters, but there's a saying in investment, it's very hard to catch the bottom or to catch the peak, right? But for the next 10 years, it's a great time to rent. And I suggest you do that. And where is the best opportunity right now? And people keep asking me. So the real opportunity is in stocks like JG Summit, in ALABANG, in SM Prime, because they are trading at some really ridiculously low valuations today, some of the lowest we've seen in 25, 30 years. And you should buy meaningfully in the stock market today in good
So
quality
get REIT.
brand.
Get
REITs.
You can also look at the REITs, yeah. You look at the way Ayala REIT has performed and the Robinsons REIT has performed. It's been fantastic. And I don't understand why people aren't buying more.
Maybe
Huwag ka
after
na lang
this.
bumili ng bahay, mag-invest ka na lang ng
sa property
stock.
stocks. Tsaka sa
Oo.
REITs.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright.
Actually, gusto ko itanong bakit yung mga high-end, no? Hindi nauubusan ng bumibili?
Baka, what would you
Grabe.
advise Pawi? Because, you know,
Yeah,
I
she's
might be
young,
looking for...
She's a young investor.
Yes.
From Metro Manila.
Yeah. Saan? Saan dapat?
For what? Like
To start
what
a
to buy?
new home.
Yeah.
I would really load up in JG Summit stock and SM Prime stock and Ayala stock.
What about
That's
the what about
about
city? Like
property?
Makati,
Yeah.
BGC, Pasig?
Always BGC and Makati.
Okay.
You need that in your portfolio, and do not live in it. Rent it out. Do not live in it. Rent it out. And that's the only way you can like Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad said. You know, don't own where you live. You rent where you live, and you own your investment property so that you can rent it out and generate cash flow. Because that's what we need. Once you're done with your cash flow portfolio, then you can start investing in idle land that will not generate cash for you. Because you want to ride the capital appreciation. And then Alabang. Oh my God, Alabang is just ridiculously cheap. Please, anything in Alabang, just buy anything in
Talaga
Alabang.
ba?
And over time, huh? No, of course not.
It's so crowded now in Alabang.
What
Everyone's
about
moving there.
Indang, Cavite?
Where do you go? Baka you hang out in the wrong places in Alabang. My gosh.
All right, well, thank you so much. We were just saying that you look like you belong to the set of what's that?
American
Idol.
What?
I love the lighting.
Yeah.
The lighting, the couch.
Yeah, who's that guy again?
Simon
Simon
Cowell.
Cowell.
That's a compliment, by
Thank
the
you.
way.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
David
Thank you.
Lichu, CEO and co-founder of Lichu Property Consultants.
All right, that's all the time we have for tonight.